Good morning. Welcome back, members and everyone. Welcome to the September 24th, 2021 California Board of Accountancy meeting. My name is Nancy Corrigan. I'm the president of the California Board of Accountancy, or the CBA. As I call the meeting to order, please be advised that this meeting is being conducted consistent with provisions of Governor Gavin Newsom's Executive Order N-0821, signed on June 11th, 2021. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Ms. Reed, our Board Relations Analyst, to establish a quorum. When Ms. Reed calls your name, please unmute your microphone, state your name, and remember to mute your microphone once you have stated your name. Thank you. Ms. Reed, please proceed.
Nancy Corrigan.
Nancy Corrigan, present.
Michael Savoy.
Present.
Mark Silverman.
Present.
Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines.
Present.
Dan Jacobson.
Here.
Luz Molina Lopez.
Luz Molina Lopez, present.
Dee Dee Owens.
Here.
Deirdre Robinson. Deirdre Robinson. Katrina Salazar.
Present.
Yin Tu.
Here.
And I'll circle back around. Deirdre Robinson. We have a quorum.
Thank you.
And do a quick mic check with Ms. Robinson. I just submitted a request to unmute your microphone. Just click the unmute me button to be unmuted.
Go ahead and proceed while that technical difficulty is being resolved. I want to thank our CBA staff and the solid team for their assistance in facilitating this virtual meeting and helping us through all of the bugs. The CBA's mission is to protect consumers by ensuring only qualified licensees practice public accountancy in accordance with established professional standards. This mission is derived from the statutory requirement that protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the California Board of Accountancy in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. Members of the public interested in participating in the meeting must join the WebEx meeting. Information and instructions are posted on our website, and all lines are currently on mute. As I facilitate this meeting to allow for the proceeding in an orderly manner, lines will remain on mute until I direct the moderator to open them for public comments. I will announce when we are accepting public comments on the various issues, and the moderator will open the lines as appropriate. 5 minutes will be allotted to each individual providing comments. I would also like to remind board members and others speaking during the meeting to please use the raise hand feature if you wish to make a motion, ask a question, or make a comment. This approach is necessary to facilitate the meeting and ensure the board has the opportunity to complete its necessary business, and I appreciate everyone's understanding of this. For today, we are going to begin with agenda item 2H, Department of Consumer Affairs Director's Report on Department Activities. We have joining us Terry Holmes, Deputy Director, Office Board and Bureau Services. Welcome, Ms. Holmes. We are anxious to hear from you.
Good morning, Board President Corrigan and board members. I am Carrie Holmes, Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations here at the Department of Consumer Affairs. Thank you for allowing me to provide a department update. One of our top priorities in Board and Bureau Relations is appointments, and I'd like to provide a brief overview. Currently, the board has 2 vacancies, both licensees appointed by the governor. DCA and all the appointing authorities share the goal of a fully seated, diverse, and effective board. Filling current and upcoming vacancies is a priority. If any members know any great candidates, or if any members of the public are interested in serving, please find the link titled Board Member Resources on DCA's homepage to apply for an appointment. DCA is receiving many questions about how and when boards will meet again in person and whether they can also continue to meet remotely. On September 16th, Governor Newsom signed legislation that will extend the ability of boards and committees to meet remotely by amending the Bagley-Keene Open Meetings Act. Though in-person meetings are also allowable by law, DCA encourages boards and bureaus to continue utilizing remote meetings to protect the health of staff, board and committee members, and the public. Please communicate plans for any in-person meetings as soon as possible so DCA can assist with coordination of teleconference options for the public, vaccination verification, and COVID-19 testing. To combat the spread of COVID-19 and protect vulnerable communities, California is implementing enhanced safety measures for state employees and workers in healthcare settings. State employees must show proof of vaccination or be subject to regular COVID-19 testing and required to wear appropriate PPE. Board and committees are considered employees and must follow health and safety protocols if they plan to visit a DCA location or attend an in-person board meeting. Members must verify vaccination or follow face covering and testing protocols in accordance with that location's requirements. DCA's testing program will begin rolling out at the end of the month. We know things are moving quickly and there's a lot of information, both official and unofficial. Statewide guidance for the use of face coverings from the California Department of Public Health remains in place unless a local jurisdiction issues a stricter public health ordinance. Many counties have revised health orders requiring face masks to be worn by both vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals. I encourage all members and the public to visit DCA's COVID-19 webpage for updates and resources on public health guidance, vaccine distribution, and more. As a reminder, 2021 is a mandatory sexual harassment prevention training year. That means all employees and board members are required to complete the training during this year. Please be advised that you will now access this training through the Learning Management System, or LMS, which is DCA's training portal. We have created profiles for each member and informed the executive officer of the steps you will need to take to log in and access the training. Board and Bureau Relations is happy to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have about using LMS. While we're on the topic of trainings, I want to extend a special thank you to Executive Officer Patty Bowers, who is always willing to assist DCA with brown bag training discussions and board member orientation training. Her experience is an asset to the department and other board leaders, and your generosity and leadership are very much appreciated. As always, Board and Bureau Relations is here to help. If there's anything we can do to assist, please reach out. That concludes my presentation, and I'll hand it back over to Board President Corrigan.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. We're always grateful to hear from you and appreciate the useful information. Members, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Holmes? Please show by raising your hand so I can call on you. And I don't see any hands. Again, we appreciate your time and thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now, moving on to agenda item 9, report of the Executive Officer. 9A, update regarding California Board of Accountancy's Administration Division. Deanne Pierce, Assistant Executive Officer. Ms. Pierce.
Thank you and good morning. So agenda item 9A is the report of the Administrative Division. This report was developed following guidance from the DCA Director to ensure boards are providing an update regarding various activities for all divisions, including administration. Some of the information in the administration report, such as personnel and recruitment, was transitioned from the licensing and enforcement reports as it more closely aligned with the activities of the admin division. There is also other information that you may recognize from the monthly executive officers report that we felt was also important to share during the board meetings. So this is the maiden voyage for this report, and as I provide an overview of the various topics, I welcome any feedback members may have regarding the current content or additional information you would like to have included in the future. I anticipate this report may evolve over the next few meetings. So the report of the Administration Division, or RAD, is what I like to refer to it, since I hope it isn't excellent, covers each of the 3 units in the Administration Division. The information in each unit is an active topic or assignment that is being worked on. So this may change with each report. You may have also noticed that unlike the EAR, the Enforcement Activity Report, or the Licensing Activity Report, the RAD doesn't have heavy statistics, but we're going to be trying to provide what we can in future years, including comparisons for members' reference. So starting with the administration unit, the top 2 items we are working on is the employee COVID testing and the fee analysis. For the employee COVID testing, Executive Officer Patty Bowers and I have been working with the Department of Consumer Affairs on getting this program launched for CBA staff. Any employee who has not submitted verification that they have been vaccinated will be required to undergo weekly COVID testing in order to work at the CBA office. There are a pool of managers throughout DCA that will be actively participating in the testing program, primarily as leads at the testing sites. We anticipate getting further information next week regarding when it will start and how it will be implemented for CBA staff. And I do want to thank DCA Director Kim Kirkmeyer and Chief Deputy Director Christine Lally, who along with the DCA leadership team have just been doing an awesome job at keeping us informed and providing significant information to enable us to get this up and moving. Moving to the fee analysis, as I mentioned in the report, CBA programs provided a significant amount of data to Crow, who is the vendor for this project. And I just got an email from them yesterday that they are finalizing the model for the fee analysis, and we anticipate having a meeting with them in early October. So I will hopefully have an update in the October EO report regarding the outcome and the anticipated presentation date. Let's see, for the information and planning unit, we are primarily focusing on the various outreach activities that Mr. Ibarra will be discussing shortly and working on legislative implementation activities, which I discussed under the President's report yesterday. With the end of the fiscal year on June 30, we have also been working on the various year-end reports, one of which we'll be talking about the next agenda item, the annual report. And last but not least is an overview of the work occurring in the Information Technology, or IT unit. Our IT staff are constantly busy working to make sure all staff are able to work so we can meet our consumer protection mission. In addition to the highlighted items in this report, our CBA System Administrator, Dave Hansen, is working with the IT staff members on a significant project planning and prioritization exercise to ensure we accomplish the necessary IT activities by the end of this year, and then planning for 2022, and 2023. And I do just want to give a shout out to the division chiefs, Dominic Franzella and Michelle Center, who provided great feedback on putting this report together to make it the RAD report that it is. So that concludes my report, and I'll turn it back over to President Corrigan, and I'm happy to answer any questions that members may have.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. That appears to have been a great team effort and a very nicely done report. Members, any questions or comments regarding this report, please show by raising your hand. I see no hands. Moderator, please open for any public comments.
This is the moderator. I've opened up the Q&A. Members of the public, if you would like to participate in public comment, the instructions will be on the screen shortly. Just click on that Q&A button. Once the text box appears, type "I would like to make a comment" and make sure you send it to all panelists. Give me just a moment so I can display that public comment slide. There you go. So again, I will repeat the instructions. The Q&A icon is typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen. Click on that and make sure to type "I would like to make a public comment" and send it to all panelists. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please do. Thank you. Agenda item 9B is presentation of the California Board of Accountancy Annual Report. Again, Deanne Pierce, Assistant Executive Officer. Ms. Pierce?
Thank you. Each of you should have received an email last night with the newly released board annual report for fiscal year 2020-2021. So I hope you received that and all had a chance to take a peek at it. The purpose of the annual report is to discuss all the accomplishments and work of the CBA during the prior fiscal year as we fulfill our mission to protect consumers. The report is made available to key stakeholders and will be published on the CBA website probably within the next month or so. So this report, in my opinion, is really awesome because it clearly identifies all the hard work that staff have completed in fulfilling the directives and the policy objectives that all of you, the CBA members, have set. I just want to mention that we are going to make some minor edits prior to finalizing to address any comments or feedback the members may have. We want to include the final outcomes of legislation, and we will be including the final budget information as well. So the report is broken down into several sections, and I'd like to just kind of briefly discuss some of this year's highlights. For outreach and social media, the CBA had a busy schedule of outreach events despite colleges and universities holding classes online for most of the academic year. The CBA took part in 6 virtual events with more than 400 students attending overall. Early in 2021, the CBA expanded its assistance to military and refugee, asylee, and special immigrant visa holders. We established a CBA staff liaison and expanded information and resources on our website, including a dedicated email address and toll-free telephone number to assist these individuals in getting their license expedited. In enforcement, we received 2,729 complaints and closed 2,692 investigations. Just over 75% were closed within 6 months from the initial complaint investigation date, and 95% were closed within 1 year. In April, the CBA launched an online application for CPA licensure. This new option provides the ability to submit applications, upload necessary documents, and pay the application and initial license fees entirely on the CBA website. In addition to this launch, our licensing division successfully reduced our processing timeframes to well below the 30-day goal. Moving to the CBA's budget, we have been closely monitoring the CBA's expenditures and revenue due to the uncertainty that the pandemic would have, and at the end of the fiscal year, we have a surplus of approximately 9%. The CBA was also successful in passing legislation that allows applicants to take the CPA exam in a specific time frame prior to completing their educational requirements. It allows broader coursework options for applicants to meet ethics study requirements, clarifies the process for who can be the presiding officer at board meetings in the absence of the president and vice president, and clarifies privacy protections for the email addresses of applicants, licensees seeking renewal, and permit holders. Our information technology staff led us through another successful audit by the California Military Department to ensure that the CBA's IT assets meet and exceed industry standards. It has been a busy but successful year, and I just want to give a shout out to Executive Officer Patty Bowers because she's been an amazing leader once again this year, and a lot of these, all these accomplishments are based on her leadership, so thank you. I'll turn it back to the CBA president, and I'm happy to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. It is a wonderful report. I managed to get through most of it, and I'll continue. And members, make sure that you submit any edits or questions over the next few days so that board can complete the process. Members, do you have any questions or comments at this time? Ms. Molina?
Yes, thank you, President Corrigan. Thank you to staff. This is a beautiful report. I'm especially proud that so much was accomplished during such trying times. I think staff's ability and leadership's ability to pivot, from what we were, from typical business standards, I think is amazing. Good job. And I highlight this report. I think it does speak to the accomplishments and the ability to do what we have to do in these trying times. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, members, at this time? I see no additional hands. Moderator, would you please open for any public comment?
This is the moderator. Members of the public, the instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that Q&A icon, which is typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen. And then type, I would like to make a public comment in the ask field, and make sure you send that to all panelists. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to turn off the Q&A?
Yes, please. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 9C, update on the California Board of Accountancy's Communications and Outreach. Patrick Ibarra, Information and Planning Officer. Mr. Ibarra.
Thank you, and good morning, President Corrigan and esteemed members of the board. I'm Patrick Ibarra, Information and Planning Officer. I'll be presenting some highlights from the Communication and Outreach report. We are less than a month away from the first CBA-hosted outreach event scheduled to occur on the evening of Wednesday, October 20th. The event is targeting accounting students and other individuals interested in pursuing a CPA license around the state. President Corrigan will kick off the event by discussing the role of the CBA and will be joined by Vice President Savoy, among others, in a panel discussion. This discussion will follow presentations by CBA staff and a question and answer session. A flyer created with the design team at DCA is being used to promote the event. Cal CPA will be helping spread the word to its members and school chapters as well, which we greatly appreciate. 2 videos starring President Corrigan were produced with DCA regarding recruitment for the open CBA member positions and CBA advisory committee positions. These will be posted to social media and our website to increase awareness of the vacancies. I'm pleased, heck, I'm excited to share the first of these 2 videos with you all today. Please pause for technical difficulties. In the meantime, I'd like to add that these are challenging times to record videos like this with the pandemic, and President Corrigan happily did it from her home, and it turned out great. So thank you for that.
so much for bearing with us. We will be sharing this video momentarily.
Hello, my name is Nancy Corrigan. I am a CPA and president of the California Board of Accountancy. The CBA is a 15-member board that regulates the accounting profession by establishing and maintaining standards of qualification and the professional conduct expected of licensees. When California consumers select a licensed CPA, they can have confidence knowing their choice has completed the rigorous education, examination, experience, and ethics requirements. These are at the core of the CBA's consumer protection mission. And right now, the CBA has an opening. We are actively seeking qualified individuals interested in being considered for this important role. If you are a licensee that has a desire to help shape the path of the accounting profession, you understand the importance of consumer protection, and you are a good communicator and listener, I highly encourage you to apply for appointment as a member. You can do so at the governor's website at www.gov.ca.gov/appointments. Serving on the CBA these last 3 years has been a real privilege for me, and I feel honored to have led such a talented group of CPAs and public members. Perhaps I will be welcoming you as a member of the board soon as well. I challenge you to take this opportunity to serve your fellow Californians and help secure a bright future for the CPA profession, and I want to thank you for listening.
Look at that, a star in the making. The CBA's new podcasting series is getting closer to becoming reality. The first episodes will be recorded in the coming weeks and shared with our audiences by the end of the year, with many more coming on the horizon featuring special guests. The CBA continues to register email addresses from our licensees. Staff are working on a communication to licensees who have not registered their email addresses with instructions on how to complete this process on the CBA website. Getting these addresses confirmed would be significant progress toward fulfilling Assembly Bill 1521's requirement that licensees provide and maintain a current email address with the CBA. The Strategic Planning Workshop for the CBA's 2022-2024 Strategic Plan is now scheduled for the November CBA meeting. DCA's Strategic Organizational Leadership and Individual Development Planning Solutions, or SOLID, needed more time to compile the information given more than 3,000 responses were received to the online survey, which far outweighed the few hundred we received last time we conducted a similar survey in 2018. All of this valuable feedback will be presented in the environmental scan during the Strategic Planning Workshop in November. CBA social media pages grew by another 150 followers since the July meeting and are now less than 200 away from crossing that 10,000 follower milestone. Social media posts undoubtedly contributed to the sharp increase in responses to our strategic plan online survey, as I just spoke about. And that concludes my presentation on this agenda item. I will now turn it back over to President Corrigan, but I'm also happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ibarra. Members, I assure you that all happened under duress. CBA staff duress. I do decide to go into show business, though. Mr. Ibarra will be my agent for sure. Members, do you have any questions, comments for Mr. Ibarra? Ms. Molina.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Ibarra. Thank you for the enthusiasm. I absolutely love this. Ms. Corrigan, you did a fantastic job. I look forward to viewing the other videos and listening to the podcasts. I'm especially excited to showcase, that accountants are a fun bunch. It's not always such a numbers and very technical and this and that. As a public member, I'm not a CPA, so it is exciting to be a part of this group. And I also want to thank you for all of the efforts to do as much of this on social media as possible. I don't have to tell you that right now that is where a lot of people get their information. And I think getting information out to the masses, to the public about the accounting profession and everything that we do to ensure that, it's all per the regulations and the public can count on the profession being at its excellent point. I'm very thrilled about this. Thank you.
Anything from any other members? At this time, seeing no hands raised. Moderator, would you please open for any public comments?
This is the moderator. Members of the public, the instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate in public comment, click that Q&A button, typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field, and make sure you send it to all panelists. We do have an individual identified as Jason Fox who would like to make a comment. Jason, I will submit a request to unmute your microphone. Just click the Unmute Me button when prompted. And you do have 5 minutes to speak. Just a moment. I have submitted the request.
Okay, I just want to compliment staff on a great work on the outreach and new and exciting different outreach avenues, and we're happy to collaborate wherever is appropriate to outreach to candidates and licensees, and really excited for the October event. So I think this is a great job, and kudos to Ms. Corrigan in her budding movie star career. Thank you.
Board President, no further requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please do. Thank you. Mr. Fox, thank you for your generous comments. We really appreciate, and we appreciate the activities that we share with Cal CPA as well. Thank you. I am moving on to agenda item 10, report on the Enforcement Advisory Committee, Qualifications Committee, and Peer Review Oversight Committee. Now, today we have no reports for 2 of them. However, we do have a report under agenda item B, the Qualifications Committee. We have Ms. Nasda Raytheon, chair of that committee. And I want to welcome you, I think as your first appearance maybe before this board. Thank you. Please proceed.
Hi, thank you very much. Yes, this is my first appearance before the board. Good morning, members. I am Nasda Raytheon, chair of the Qualifications Committee, and I am pleased to be here today with you. The Qualifications Committee conducted the virtual meeting on July 28, 2021. Since December of 2020, we have conducted 5 subcommittee meetings. There have been a total of 20 Section 69 reviews and 7 personal appearances. 17 applicants were recommended for approval of a CPA license, and 10 were recommended for deferral. The Qualifications Committee has experienced success conducting the virtual committee meetings. This process has allowed us to conduct timely subcommittee meetings in support of our applicants. The Qualification Committee's next public meeting will take place on October 20th, 2021 on the WebEx platform. Moving on to item number 10B2. For this agenda item, the CBA is being asked to adopt or modify the 2022 QC proposed meeting dates. The proposed 2022 QC meeting dates are January 26, April 27, July 27, and October 26. This concludes my report, and I will turn it back to President Corrigan.
Thank you. And members, do you have any questions on the report of the July 28th Qualifications Committee meeting, or any comments? And seeing no hands, do I have a motion for approval of those suggested dates for the 2022 meetings? Ms. Salazar?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the submitted 2022 meeting dates.
And Ms. Robinson?
The motion is seconded.
Thank you. And is there any further discussion regarding the motion and the second from the members? Seeing no hands, moderator, would you please open to the public for any questions or comments regarding agenda item 10B1 and 2? Thank you.
Yes, this is the moderator. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, public comment, the instructions are on the screen for your reference. Simply click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen and type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field and make sure to send it to all panelists. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please do. Thank you. Ms. Reed, would you please call for the vote on agenda item 10B2 and provide the result?
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes.
Soshi Leon, Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Deirdre Robinson,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Yes.
Mark Silverman,
Yes.
Yin Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan.
Yes.
We have a motion carries.
Thank you and thank you again, Ms. Raytheon, and thank you for your contribution and your donated time spent with a very valuable committee. Thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm moving on to agenda item 11, regulations. A, discussion and possible action to amend Title 16, California Code of Regulations, Section 70, fees. Deanne Pierce, Assistant Executive Officer. Ms. Pierce?
Thank you. The purpose of this agenda item is twofold. It's to provide the California Board of Accountancy the opportunity to consider any public comments and provide responses, and to provide the CBA an opportunity to adopt proposed amendments to Title 16, California Code of Regulations, Section 70. The CBA initiated this rulemaking as a result of operating with a structural imbalance between authorized expenditures and our revenues. The structural imbalance is reducing the fund balance reserve and creating insufficient resources that will impact the CBA's ability to carry out its consumer protection mandate in future years. The proposed regulations will increase specified fee levels to narrow the structural imbalance between revenues and expenditures and provide for a prudent fund balance reserve in the near future. The proposed amendment would increase the fee for renewal of a permit to practice as a partnership, a corporation, a public accountant, or CPA to the statutory maximum of $280. The proposed amendment would also increase the fee for an initial permit to practice as a partnership, a corporation, or a CPA to the statutory maximum of $280. Further amendments are non-substantive, just to clean up existing regulatory language in Section 70. The CBA has followed all the required steps, including the filing of necessary documents with the Office of Administrative Law, specifically attachments 1, 2, and 3, to allow the 45-day public comment period to occur. The CBA also conducted the public hearing at its office on August 18th, 2021. The rulemaking process requires the CBA to consider any public comments and, based on those comments, whether to amend and adopt the proposed regulatory text. During the 45-day public comment period, the CBA received one written comment, which is provided in the agenda item. The staff proposed response to this comment that will be included in the final statement of reasons, if approved by the CBA, is also included in the agenda item, and essentially we are rejecting the comment. The CBA has two options for a motion to adopt the proposed changes to CBA Regulation Section 70. Option 1 is if no additional changes are made after consideration of the public comment, to adopt the language as noticed. And option 2 would be to modify the language based on the public comment, and then we would have to renotice it for 15 days based on that change. Sorry, I lost my. Staff recommend that the CBA adopt option 1 and make the following motion. Adopt the staff recommended response for the comment regarding the proposed regulatory text. Adopt the regulatory text in Title 16, California Code of Regulations, Section 70. Direct staff to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking file, including submitting to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs, the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, and Office of Administrative Law, and authorize the executive officer to make any non-substantive changes to the proposed regulations and adopt the proposed regulations as originally noticed. At this time, I will turn it back to the President for a possible motion, and I'm happy to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. Members, do we have any questions for Ms. Pierce regarding her report on this agenda item? And I'm not seeing any hands. Do I then have a motion, members? Ms. Owens?
Yes, I move to adopt the staff recommendation.
Okay, and Ms. Hines?
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members, on this, on the motion or the second and this topic? Seeing no hands, moderator, would you please open for any public comment?
Moderator, members of the public, if you would like to participate, please click on the Q&A icon located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen and type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the ask field, and make sure you send that to all panelists. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Please do. Ms. Reed, would you call for the vote and please provide the result?
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Deirdre Robinson,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Yes.
Mark Silverman,
Yes.
Yin Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 12, report of the Enforcement Chief, Dominic Franzella, Chief of the Enforcement Division. Mr. Franzella?
Good morning. Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, members. So the agenda item before you today is for the fiscal year end of 2020-2021. So looking at the complaints received on pages 1 and 2, the CBA received just over 2,700 complaints, which represented about a 19% increase compared to the prior fiscal year. Moving on to investigations and investigations pending. Staff closed just under 2,700 cases, with 95% of the cases closed within 1 year. On page 4, members will note that we presently had, or at the end of the fiscal year, we had 779 cases in our pending investigations inventory, and we had 4 cases over 24 months, and we are continuing to make progress on those cases, with 2 of those investigations having reports already drafted and were under review. The AC will also be conducting 2 investigative hearings in conjunction with its October meeting. Moving on to discipline, which is pages 6 through 9 of your report. Looking first at AG referrals, the CBA referred 50 matters to the AG's office and filed 49 pleadings, with the vast majority of those being accusations. The CBA has only 39 matters pending at the AG's office, and none of those are over 24 months. Actually, all of them, none over 21 to 24 months either. So the inventory is fairly current over there. Lastly, the CBA has taken action on 50 disciplinary orders, with the vast majority of those orders being stipulated settlements. Looking now to pages 10 and 11 of your report, which relate to citation and fine. The CBA issued 376 citations last fiscal year, with around 66% of those citations for the minimum yearly CE requirement of 20 and 12. During that same period, the CBA received 69 citation and fine appeals, In several instances, the citations were withdrawn due to the licensee providing mitigation not previously provided to the CBA, or is often the case, the licensee complies with the issue that resulted in the citation being issued in the first place. For example, providing responses or documents that were previously requested. Moving on to unlicensed activity, the CBA received 475 complaints regarding unlicensed activity and have obtained compliance and closed 382 matters. There has been an increase in the number of complaints received for unlicensed activity due to a high volume of the same type of unlicensed activity complaints from 2 individual complainants. In June, the CBA launched the new online unlicensed complaint activity form and received about 7 complaints through that new process. On page 13 of your report, you'll notice that staff provided a few definitions related to practice without a permit, individuals without a license, and unregistered firm to provide added clarity to what those particular items mean in reference to the nature and the type of unlicensed activity that was being reported and investigated. Lastly, I'll highlight probation monitoring, which is on pages 14 and 15 of your report. At the end of the fiscal year, we had 123 individuals on probation. We had found 83 probation violations, with the vast majority being failure to submit quarterly reports. The probation unit conducted probation orientations earlier this month and is all caught up with outstanding orientations. So at this time, I'd like to turn discussion back over to President Corrigan, and I'll do my best to answer members' questions.
Thank you, Mr. Franzella. Members, do we have any questions or comments regarding this Enforcement Division report? Seeing no hands, moderator, would you please open for any public comment?
Moderator, members of the public, the instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on that Q&A icon typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen and type "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field, and make sure you send that to all panelists. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please do. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 13 is report of the licensing chief, Michelle Center, chief of our licensing division. Ms. Center?
Thank you, President Corrigan. The licensing activity report, or LAR, that I'm going to present covers the fiscal year 2020 to 21. Unfortunately, it isn't called RAD, but at least it isn't called the EAR. Please note, a revised LAR was mailed out on September 15th, 2021. The revised LAR included minor technical edits, a couple of data updates, and changes to clarify how the CE waiver data are reported. Please note that after that mail out, 2 additional errors were discovered and have been updated in the online version. Specifically, the out-of-state firm registration count in Table 6 for fiscal year 2021 was updated to 67 from 84. The total row in Table 6 was updated accordingly. Additionally, the total number of renewals in Table 7 for fiscal year 2021 was updated to 46,477. Unfortunately, the data reported in the LAR comes from various sources and involves manual processes. While we anticipate the full implementation of the business modernization solution to address this issue, until then, we continue to rely on manual processing. We are taking steps, beginning with the November LAR, to make adjustments where we can. The adjustments will focus on providing relevant information to the board while also reducing data error. Included in this report before you today is the Nasda CPA exam performance summary for the second testing quarter of 2021. There are 2 parts to each quarterly report, a California-specific report and a jurisdiction report. The report is included as attachment 1. The data shows a 49% increase in the number of candidates testing in the second quarter of 2021 compared to the same period in 2020. The Department of Consumer Affairs issued a new continuing education extension waiver on July 26, 2021. The new waiver supersedes all previous waivers. All individuals with a license that expires between March 2020 and September 2021 have until January 31, 2022 to complete their continuing education requirements. As of yesterday, exam applications were being processed within 11 days and initial licensing applications within 3 days. Okay, I'm not seeing enough smiles, so I'm going to do this there. I would like to acknowledge and thank licensing staff who have been laser focused on reducing processing times. Their hard work and dedication is commendable. Now, if we turn our attention to page 1 of the LAR, it shows we received over 74,000 applications between July 1, 2020 and June 30th, 2021. Of those, approximately 64% were license renewal applications. There were over 156,000 stakeholder inquiries, and those are in the form of either email or telephone calls. The report also contains trend information beginning on page 2. As you can see in tables 3 and 4, the number of CPA exam applications and CPA applications received remain fairly consistent compared to the same period of the previous 2 fiscal years. Our online application option has been well received. At this point in time, online applications make up approximately 86% of the initial applications we are receiving. On pages 5 through 8, data related to renewal deficiencies and continuing education audits are displayed. The applications reported as deficient/waiver are inclusive of both renewal deficiencies and COVID-19 CE extension waivers. This was done purely to ensure the applicants using the COVID-19 CE waiver were kept open for processing and should not be interpreted to mean that applicants who use the CE waiver are deemed deficient. Beginning with the next LAR, we anticipate this data will be disaggregated to allow for more nuanced tracking of deficiencies. With the implementation of CE waivers, CE audits were paused in 2020 as staff determined how best to proceed. In 2021, CE audits resumed and 762 licensees were selected for an audit. At the time the LAR was prepared, the vast majority, namely 557 audits, were found to be compliant with the CE requirements. On pages 10 through 11, data related to military and refugee, asylee, and special immigrant visa holders are displayed. This concludes my presentation. I'll now turn it back over to President Corrigan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Center, and congratulations on those outstanding processing times. And I agree, your LAR report is rad. Members, any comments, questions? Ms. Tu, I see your hand.
Thank you, President Corrigan. Again, just like ditto to what President Corrigan just said regarding staff. One thing I was curious because when I read the annual report, the exciting aspect of the new launch of social media and everything that the CBA is doing on the outreach side, am I correct in assuming that also increased the interest from the public as well as allowing the public having additional information? Can you kind of draw some connection for us regarding the outreach effort, especially in the social media and from Facebook to Twitters and everything else?
Happy to. My staff work collaboratively with Patrick and his staff in the social media realm, as well as our outreach events. So it has given us a great opportunity, for example, to talk about our online licensing application. And I'm sure that really focuses on getting that 86%. The other thing that we did with assistance of additional staff here at the board, we were able to put that front and center on our homepage. So one of the first things you see now on our homepage is information related to our online licensing application. So we do look forward to additional outreach events and opportunities, and we are always happy to work with staff on that side of the house to do that.
This is only anecdotal evidence, but I've been tracking some of my people I know that are CPA and asking them how they like the whole online payment and the whole new website. And you've been getting fabulous feedback from the informal tracking that I've been doing myself. So kudos.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Tu. Ms. Owens, I see your hand.
Yes, just a question on, well, first I appreciate and understand the challenges of dealing with manual processes and appreciate the updates that you're making to make sure the data is exactly the way that it should be. On page 4, table 5, I'm just curious about the jump from 1920 to 2021 and approved. Is this primarily due to COVID and impacts of the pandemic that made the increase between 2019 and then the current year?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the table number you're looking at?
Table 5. Because I'm just looking at the increase in approvals for a test authority, which is great, but just the overall number is significantly higher than last year.
So you are correct. We have done quite a bit of changes within our licensing unit to really focus on getting our initial applications approved. So in doing that, what you're seeing is some applications that were received in the prior fiscal year being approved in 2021. So the work is actually captured when it is done, and so the jump may look higher than it actually is because those applications could have been received in 1920. So it's really, yeah, it's really the focus and the fact that we are approving applications within such a short period of time now, and we will not have that kind of carryover in the next fiscal year report.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Salazar?
Thank you, President Corrigan. Thank you, Ms. Center, for that presentation. I do appreciate the work that goes into this. I am somewhat relying on just sort of my recollections of the history, but CE renewals and compliance with our 2012 seem to just always be a really popular issue with our renewals. And so, yeah, I have just a couple questions. I'll start with saying I'm really hoping that social media will help us reach more candidates and licensees so that they understand the rules better and compliance will get better. But my question for you is, do you have any feedback based upon what you've been seeing that when we identify a renewal issue with continuing education, is it your experience that we tend not to see those people coming back, or are these people, because again, we just always seem to have, it seems to be a popular issue on our list, do we see repeat offenders? And how does our approach with those licensees change if they have a history of not compliance? Thank you.
Thank you, Member Salazar. You guys are really giving me tough questions today. One, I think in particular, you're looking at Table 10 and you see such a large number in that why we refer things over to enforcement. You see that 2012 there, and it's a really high number, right? So one of the things that we are looking at changes, and I reference changes to the November LAR is how we report data. And that, as well as any other of these, well, particularly that table. That table does not double count applicants. So for example, they may be going to enforcement because they have a 2012 as well as a peer review issue, but they're captured in this table as 2012. So by doing that, for one thing, we're not giving ourselves the best data to know what are the issues that we're sending them, because we're not multiple counting them in different categories, if you will. So that's one of the tables in particular that we are looking at changes so we can better track that and then work with our outreach individuals and social media individuals to really focus on the specific areas that we're having issues with. In terms of your questions about repeat, did you say repeat offenders? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth if that's not what you said. But we have not looked at the data in that longitudinal kind of approach. That is not something we have done at this point.
Thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing those changes that you've already referenced. So thank you.
Ms. Salazar, this is Dominic Frenzel, and I can hopefully add a little bit of clarity to some of the repeat offender questions you had. Again, we haven't necessarily tracked on an individual basis the repeat offender issue. However, you had other questions related to how it's addressed and what steps are being taken to address those particular issues. In a lot of instances, we get the first-time individuals in enforcement as well, and we do our best to go through corrective actions, trying to educate them and inform them of those particular violations and how to take appropriate steps to make sure that they're not in violation in the future. Second, violations oftentimes result in citations that go forward. However, we have seen, and I want to say in a couple of instances, we have gone as far as we've had people who have violated, I want to say 4 times now. And this was a topic of discussion a few years back with the board to make sure that the board was understanding of the process that we were going to have to be taking in order to potentially curb ongoing issues related to this. We've issued citations and fines, I think at the maximum of $5,000 for these types of violations, hopefully sending messages. But at some point, if this becomes an ongoing and it's 5 or 6 times in a row, the likelihood is they will be referred to the AG's office for enforcement or for potential disciplinary matters, because obviously we're not getting the corrections that are necessary in order to keep them from continuing those violations.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments on this report, members? Seeing no hands, moderator, would you please ask for public comments?
Members of the public, if you would like to participate, the Q&A is now open. The instructions are on the screen. You can click that Q&A icon, typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type, "I would like to make a public comment" in the Ask field. Make sure you send that to all panelists and click Send. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please do. Thank you. And I'm now moving on to agenda item 16, report on our reports from our board committees. We will start with A, Committee on Professional Conduct, Luz Molina Lopez, our committee chair. Ms. Lopez?
Thank you, President Corrigan. I do have my report prepared. So the Committee on Professional Conduct met yesterday morning, and this is in regards to CBA agenda item, the one that you just mentioned, 16A2. Staff provided a presentation regarding proposed amendments to CBA Regulations Section 41, Firm Responsibilities, and Section 50.1, client notification. The proposed amendments would apply to select accounting firms that provide attest services when the ownership is comprised solely of CPAs who have not completed the attest experience requirement. The amendments to CBA Regulations Section 41 would require the accounting firm to provide written notice to the peer reviewer or peer view team prior to the commencement of the peer review that the accounting firm has no owner authorized to sign reports on attest engagements. The amendment to CBA Regulations Section 50.1 would require accounting firms that provide attest services but do not have any owners authorized to sign reports for attest engagements to provide a notification to the client of the name and license number of the CPA that the firm has authorized to sign the attest report on behalf of the accounting firm. The proposed amendment also removes the website posting notification method, ensuring the consumer receives a more direct notification. The CPC recommends the CBA approve the regulatory text in CBA Regulations Section 41 and 50.1. Also, direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review. And if no adverse comments are received, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, making any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for hearing if one is requested. This is a fully formed motion and does not require a second. I will return this back to President Corrigan for discussion and a vote.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Members, are there any questions or comments, any further discussion regarding this agenda item? I'm seeing no hands. Moderator, would you please ask for public comment?
Yes, members of the public, the instructions are on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click that Q&A icon, type "I would like to make a public comment," and send it to all panelists. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you. Please do. Ms. Reed, would you call for the vote and provide the result?
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Deirdre Robinson,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Yes.
Mark Silverman,
Yes.
Yin Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan.
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you. And now moving on to agenda item 16B, the Enforcement Program Oversight Committee report. Michael Savoy.
Thank you, President Corrigan. Yesterday, we had a meeting of the EPUC, and here is my report. There was a discussion and possible action to approve a legislative proposal to amend Business and Profession Code 5070.1 to update the language related to the denial of a retired status license application. Staff reported that we discussed this topic at our May meeting earlier this year, during which we directed staff to work with counsel to explore necessary statutory changes and submit the language to the legislature. Staff reported that the proposed amendments to Business and Profession Code 5070.1 found in the attachment would allow an individual with a permanent restricted practice order to be approved for a retired status license. Staff outlined the various changes to the statute designed to effectuate the policy to allow an individual with a permanent restricted practice order to be approved for a retired status license. The first change is to amend subsection C. While this proposed amendment does not directly affect the policy that we sought to implement, the change deletes the phrase otherwise punitively restricted, as this language is unnecessary and does not accurately reflect disciplinary orders of the CBA. Administrative actions ordered by the CBA are not to be considered punitive. The second changes is to add subparagraph 1 to subdivision C. This new subparagraph adds the necessary authority to allow the CBA to approve a retired status license application to licensees with a permanent restrictive practice order. It further clarifies that these licensees shall have completed probation as specified by the order as necessary, and adds subparagraph 2 to subdivision C. This new subparagraph establishes that any licensees approved for retired status license who previously had a permanent restricted practice order in place at the time of approval shall have the permanent restricted practice order reinstated should these licensees have the license restored to active status. Further, it clarifies that the permanent restricted practice order shall remain in place until such time as the CBA approves a modification or termination of the restricted practice order. Licensees would need to seek a modification or a termination via the standard petition process. Therefore, the EPOC recommends that the CBA approve the proposed amendments to Business and Practice Section 5070.1, including any additional changes the CBA deems necessary, and direct staff to seek its inclusion in a 2022 omnibus bill, seek an author to carry a separate bill, or include it as part of the sunset review process. This is a fully formed motion. It does not require a second. I will turn it back to President Corrigan for discussion and action.
Thank you, Mr. Savoy. Members, any questions, comments, discussion regarding this report or the fully formed motion? Seeing no hands, moderator, would you please open for public comment?
This is the moderator. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, instructions are on the screen. Simply click that Q&A button, type "I would like to make a public comment," and send it to all panelists. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Thank you. Yes, please do. Ms. Reed, would you call for the vote and please provide the result?
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines,
Yes.
Dan Jacobson,
Yes.
Luz Molina Lopez,
Yes.
Dee Dee Owens,
Yes.
Deirdre Robinson,
Yes.
Katrina Salazar,
Yes.
Michael Savoy,
Yes.
Mark Silverman,
Yes.
Yin Tu,
Yes.
and Nancy Corrigan.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. And moving on now to agenda item 17, which is closing business. Agenda items for future California Board of Accountancy meetings. If any member would like to request a topic to be placed on a future meeting agenda for consideration, please do so by raising your hand at this time and wait to be called upon. And I see no hands at this time. Moderator, would you please open for any public comment on this agenda item?
The public, the instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click that Q&A icon, type "I would like to make a public comment" in the ask field, and send it to all panelists. Board President, no requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
And one last very important agenda item is we are now adjourned. I want to thank everyone for participating and look forward to seeing you in November.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye. Have a good weekend. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Goodbye.